Hey folks, welcome back. I'm inside today. Got some launch monitor data up. The topic I'm going to talk about today is there's 5 data points that I think every golfer needs to understand, especially when they're working with technology. There's a lot of different launch monitor companies out there that give us a lot of different data. And I think oftentimes the fault that we have is players will start to hone in on a specific number thinking that there's one number that they need to optimize. But if our goal is to hit the most predictable, consistent golf shots that we can, or at least the most repeatable golf shots that we can, I think there's 5 numbers that matter a lot more than others. And I also think that there's a certain order that we have to look at them in. So what I want to do is I want to dive into the 5 most important data points on launch monitors and how to understand what they mean and what they mean for you. So the first thing that we talk about when we talk about hitting good golf shots, one thing that we hear a lot of people saying, I'm a believer in as well, is contact is king. And what I mean by that is the first thing is, where are we hitting it on the face? Understanding our impact location plays a huge effect on where our golf ball starts and also where our golf ball curves. And if we want to get the optimal distance, the optimal launch, different things like that, understanding and knowing impact location is critical. There's a lot of high-end launch monitors that have technology that allows us to see exactly where impact is. But if you're hitting golf balls on a lower end piece of tech where you don't get impact location, using something like impact spray or strike spray from Super Speed Golf is something that I would recommend, because you must know where you're hitting on the club face. If you're trying to make a change because you hit a slice or because you hit a hook, if you continue to hit it off of the heel or if you continue to hit off of the toe, that miss is still going to be there. So the first thing we have to understand and know is where are we hitting it on the face. So impact location is number 1. That second data point is low point. And low point, if we think of it, if you're watching a golf swing from face on, that golf club is essentially working in a circle. And along that circle, there is a low point. There is a spot in that circle where the club bottoms out, and that number is called low point. Where your low point is tells us a lot about the quality of the contact that we're going to make. If you're a golfer that constantly hits behind the golf ball, or you top it, or let's say you don't compress the golf ball, knowing your low point number is something that is very important. It's not the same as angle of attack, it is slightly different, and it's measured slightly differently as well. But something that's so important that can be a light bulb moment for a lot of golfers is understanding what low point means. And let's say, as an example, you're a player that you're constantly hitting behind the golf ball. Normally the value that we would get here would be, as an example, 2.0B. And what that means is that you're bottoming out 2 inches before the golf ball. When we look at the best players in the world and when we hear them talk about compressing the golf ball, we see them with that forward shaft lean and they're compressing the golf ball. Their low point with an iron will always be after the golf ball, meaning that their arc, right, that visual of that arc, they're coming down as they hit the golf ball, the golf club is still traveling down, and then it comes up afterwards. So once we understand where we're hitting it on the face, the next thing we need to understand is where is that arc bottoming out. And a measuring stick we see, and I'm going to use a round number, which sometimes isn't the most accurate thing to do, but when we're talking about irons and striking high quality iron shots, the best players in the world, they're really good ball strikers, their low point is 3 to 4 inches after the golf ball. With driver, that changes. Driver, if we think about it, since that ball is on a tee and the ball position is forward, in that arc, we want to bottom out before we get to the golf ball. So we want a positive, or we want our low point to be before the golf ball so we can have an upward strike on that golf shot. So once we understand impact location, let's find out where are we bottoming out in that arc. Because if we're bottoming out in the wrong spot, that's always going to lead to contact issues. And when we look at the best players in the world, there's drawers of the golf ball, there's cutters of the golf ball, but all of them generally have very consistent low point because they make consistent contact. I don't always like the word consistent, but if you're looking for one, let's look at low point. So we've got impact location, we know where we're hitting it on the face, and we know where our club is bottoming out. The next number that I think is very important is face angle. Face angle shows us when we make impact, When we come down and the moment we touch this golf ball, where is that face pointing relative to the target? TrackMan uses positive and negative values. So if I have a positive face angle, that means my face is pointed to the right, which makes sense because the shot that I hit here, to use as an example, went to the right. One thing that is very important to understand, let's say we start to make acceptable contact, right? We're hitting in the correct spot on the face. We have a manageable low point control. The next number that's very important is our face angle, because the club face dictates the starting direction more than any other number. So let's say you are a player that is consistently hitting a slice. You want to stop hitting a slice. You're making acceptable contact, so it's not because of impact location. The next thing we're looking at is if you hit a slice, your club face is open. It doesn't matter how you slice it, relative to the path, the club face is open. So if you want to stop slicing it, the first number that has to change after make good contact in the right spot is where that club face is pointing. So that's why the third most important number to understand for you, what is your face angle and what is the face angle that you're trying to achieve? An example that I'll give is a lot of players that come over the top and they hit a slice. I see them work so much on their club path, and I see a lot of players give me this visual where they're really trying to shallow the club or get the club more from the inside or whatever it may be. But if the club face is still open, the ball's still going to go to the right. So I kind of laugh sometimes when I see people do this and they look like this, where that club face is still very open. We have to change the club face first. So that's number 3. Number 4 becomes club path. So we go back to that slicer. Let's say there's a slicer that comes over the top. So on TrackMan, we're going to get a negative value because it's going to the left, and positive values go to the right. So now we look at, okay, we can build out, if we're trying to fix a slicer, we know that they're making good contact because we take care of understanding impact location. We have low point in front of the golf ball for an iron. And now we start to have a club face that is closed. That's the progression that we've gone through. Now we can actually start to change the club path. So club path is measured, like I said before, similar to face angle, where positive values are to the right, negative values are to the left. But it's number 4. A lot of people, when they come into lessons, they say, I'm over the top. And the first thing that they want to talk about is they want to fix that club path. I'm just going to reiterate, for me, that falls number 4, because we have to understand where we're hitting it on the face, where we're bottoming out, and where that club face is pointing before we can actually start to make a change to our club path. Now the 5th number is angle of attack. Not every piece of tech out there measures low point. And I think for a lot of players, even an easier way to look at it is, if we don't have low point available, is understanding, is our angle of attack positive or negative? On any given shot, when we touch the golf ball, I'm going to exaggerate the example, a negative angle of attack means we're hitting down, the club is traveling down towards the ground as we hit the golf ball. Or a positive angle of attack is that the club head is actually traveling up when we hit the golf ball. Easiest way to think about it is all of our irons, all of our wedges, we want a negative angle of attack. We want to be hitting down on the golf ball. The reason why it's not higher up on the list is it's got to be relative to our low point. So we can have a -5 angle of attack, which is great, right? It's an iron, I want to hit down on it. But if the low point is 4 inches before the golf ball, we're going to chunk the living daylights out of it. So that's why it's important to understand those numbers, and maybe that's why angle of attack falls where it does on the list. For a lot of golfers, we can normally start to achieve a negative angle of attack with our irons relatively easy. It's funny, sometimes the tricky one is golfers achieving a positive angle of attack with their driver. If we have a negative angle of attack, that means we're hitting down on it, which for a lot of players, things that happen, we have impact location that's high on the face, and we generate a lot of extra spin, which robs us of a ton of distance. And I won't dive into it too much in this video, but one of the main reasons why is a lot of golfers set up to their driver. Similar to the way to step to an iron. With the ball too far back, hands forward, but that's not the point of this video. But if we look at the 5 numbers that we need to understand in the correct order, I believe if you're looking to make a change, or if you're looking to improve your golf swing and you have technology, that's fantastic. But there's a couple numbers you have to understand what they mean and what they mean to your swing and what your numbers are, and maybe what the optimal numbers are for you in your golf swing before we start to make any other changes. So just to summarize, those 5 in the right order is impact location. We have to understand where we're hitting it on the club face. Number 2 is low point. We have to find out where we are bottoming out, if we're bottoming out before the golf ball or after the golf ball. There's understanding face angle, because the face angle has a lot to do with where the golf ball starts. Usually 70 to 80% of start direction is dictated by the club face and face angle. Then we have club path, right? The direction that the club is moving. Make sure you take care of club face first before you look at club path. And then the last one is that angle of attack. Are we hitting down on the golf ball? Are we hitting up on the golf ball? If you've got some tech, that's fantastic. If you're at a place like I'm at right now inside Swing Factory and you're working on some things, that's incredible. Understand these 5 numbers, know what they mean to you, and use this to your advantage to start playing better golf. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a great day.